Did you? So, hello. My name's Maria Gryllis, and we've got Rose Statham on our Zoom conference call this morning or this afternoon for me. And we'll be discussing just the carnivore journey. We've both been on a carnivore journey, and we were just mentioning that your journey's been a little bit different. So you've started incorporating a few other things into your diet. But do you want to just discuss, why you decided to start on the carnivore journey and where you're at now with it, just
Yeah.
generally?
I've just been reading a little bit through Mark Atwood's show about the people who are on the big fat challenge to become carnivore. And I just found it interesting. And I've created this course to help people understand what they're putting in and on their bodies, the impact, and then support them to make a change. And I thought, well, if carnivore is getting such good results, maybe I need to investigate it to find out, just to see what it's all about. So I joined the Big Fat Challenge, and then I started carnivore, sorry. But then I found out during this Big Fat Challenge about something called oxalates. And this sort of blew my mind, because although I'd been low carb keto for maybe 9 years, what I'd found is I kept having residual skin issues. So my skin, I'd get spots and psoriasis, and they wouldn't quite clear up. And also I had a little bit of a lump in my stomach, which was moving about. So it was like ET. And then
Oh, really? Did you find out what that was, or was it just kind of a bit of a mystery for a while?
it was oxalates.
Oh, okay. So it was oxalates. Yeah.
Yeah, because oxalates can cause digestion issues, can cause joint issues. It's a myriad of challenges that can cause. And so
Yeah.
after I went carnivore, I probably went too quickly, but my waist size dropped by about 2 inches, about 5 centimeters.
How long did that take you to sort of how long did that change take to occur? How
About
long
six
was it?
weeks.
6 weeks? Wow, that's a short time.
Yeah, and my because it was actually it wasn't fat, it was bloating, because I never really lost any weight. And
Yeah.
my skin is really now is improved quite considerably, and is continued. I think occasionally if I have some more oxalates or an oxalate dump, I have a little flare up, but it's in general it's so much better.
So do you find that with the oxalate dumping, you're going through a bit of a wave where it's like it peaks and troughs and it sort of flares up, and then you get symptoms of an oxalate dump, and then it kind of alleviates and stabilizes for a while? Is that what you're noticing?
Well, with my digestion, I think I had constipation at the start, and probably I went too fast onto carnivore.
Yeah.
And then after that, my skin had improved immensely, but now it's going through waves. And then if I add something which has got a little bit more oxalates, because I'm starting to find the carnivore regime a little bit of quite boring in terms of just eating meat all the time, because I loved vegetables, I loved foraging and things like that. So it was a big
Yeah.
it was a big mind switch for me.
Yeah. I think that initially, whether you do it for 90 days or 6 months, depending on what you're trying to reverse and how ill you are and how sort of strict you have to be. I guess over time, some people revert back to low carb and they start introducing vegetables. But I guess everyone's different, and we can't say that everyone's going to be on a strict carnivore diet for the rest of their lives. It's about just, being and I was I've been listening to so many YouTube, videos on, eating seasonally as well with
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables. It's not just about, the vegetables and fruits and vegetables are not bad as such. It's just that number one, we're not eating seasonally, and number two, there's so many pesticides that they, spray over our, fresh produce, that we're consuming all these toxins. And it's about making sure that you're shopping locally, and that you're sourcing product that's in season specifically. So I'm sure you know a lot about that, because I've listened to a lot of your content, and you're really sort of very well versed in that area. So did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you said fruit and vegetables are not bad, but actually some of them are. Especially high oxalate veg, like spinach.
Would you say the moonshades are worse? The
Sorry?
moonshade, the
The
moon is it
nightshades.
nightshades, not moonshades, nightshades.
No, I think oxalates, high oxalate veg is worse. So like for example, spinach, Swiss chard, beetroot leaves, almonds, because this is all the things I was eating. I was making keto bread with almonds. I was making keto cakes. I was having spinach and sweet potato omelets. And the omelets are good, but the spinach and the sweet potato are actually high in oxalates. And then you have
I mean,
the nightshades.
there was even a craze where people were drinking gallons of celery juice for, weeks on end. So you can just imagine, what that was doing to people's digestive tract as well.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people are actually they believe that spinach is healthy, and they'll have spinach smoothies, spinach juice. Raspberries are also quite high in oxalate. So I mean, for me, it's all about, it's like my company is called Nosh Rocks, so it's naturally organic, slim and healthy, and it's Rose Carb Cutting Kickstart, and it's all.
So it's a bit of an acronym. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
So so for me, I believe eat seasonally, locally, and for things like fruit, it has to be in moderation, because fruit has been bred over the years to be much higher in fructose, and so you have to moderate your fruit, and be careful. Things like blueberries, which are being pushed as a superfood, but they're actually high in tannins. They're not so bad for oxalates, but they're high in tannins, which are neutralized by your saliva. But when you're drinking it, your saliva's not dealing with it.
Yeah, right. And I was listening to a gentleman called Dr. Gary Fettke. I don't know if you've come
Oh
across him.
yeah, I love him. I've been following him for years.
I love him, and his wife Belinda
Yeah.
Fettke. She's right onto it as well. But the research that he has done just around the dietary guidelines of Australia, and just the history of it, and who was financially attached to coming up with these dietary guidelines, and some of the more insidious reasons why some organizations got attached, just blows your mind. Listening to both of them the last 2 weeks, I've listened to a few videos from them, and it's quite scary. It's
Yeah.
quite scary what's happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's
and he does mention. Go ahead.
No, it's we have do you know Professor Tim Noakes? They're big friends. Professor Tim Noakes of South Africa. He's trying to.
No, I haven't come across him yet.
He's trying to turn the food pyramid on its head, because he's a sports nutritionist, and he has been for years. He used to run marathons, and he wrote a book called The Lore of Running, and he was saying there people should carb load. And now, about maybe 10, 15 years ago, he came out and said, look, he'd become diabetic, he was overweight, and he found out it was because he'd been carb loading. And he came out and said, please, I'm sorry, ignore my advice on carb loading. And he just well, in 2018, he was dragged through the courts by a dietitian who was sponsored by the Coca-Cola company, and he was dragged through the courts for 2 years. And it's the same with Gary Fett. I think he's been dragged through the courts as well, and they tried to strike him off for giving not dietary advice, but just saying, you know, go low carb and drop the weight.
Yeah, because he's not, from what I've listened to, he's not, you know, he's not telling people to go on a strictly carnivore diet. He's just saying to reduce your carbohydrate intake and just make sure that you're not eating, you know, too much of it. So his thoughts are not by no means, you know, very, very strict at all. But he has been exonerated. Apparently, that's the
Yes.
the what I've heard, which is great. But I guess Belinda, being the wonderful person that she is, kind of jumped on board and thought, I'm going to go to town with this as well and see what I can find out. So her research has been magnificent.
Yeah, I have deep respect for both of them. They're doing a fabulous job. And I mean, he wrote. Have you seen his podcast? Is fruit good for you?
I haven't listened to his podcast, but he did do a couple of presentations. There was a presentation that he did that was in America and one in Australia. So I've listened to both of those.
Yeah,
but I might look up his podcast and see what that's all.
I mean, it's quite an old one, well. And it was. I think it was Low Carb Down Under, and it was after he was exonerated. And it's quite amusing. Is fruit good or bad? And he just presents it in such an interesting way. But deep respect for both of them.
So you didn't have too many sort of serious health issues, but for you it was more just you just wanted a little bit more optimum health, and you were having a few digestive issues and also skin sort of issues. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't understand why I was eating so healthy, and yet I still had these skin issues, and it blew my mind when I found it. It's a book called Toxic Superfoods by a lady called Sally K. Norton, and it absolutely blew my mind.
Well, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I've listened to her as well. I've come across her channel. She's all about oxalate research.
Yeah.
She's incredible as well. So I mean, it's just amazing because when you do have a health issue, and I was mentioning it to a naturopath I was talking to yesterday. We did an interview as well, but she was saying that, you know, when you do suffer from, you know, quite serious health symptoms for a long time, you know, often it's that sort of you know, once you sort of open the door to a carnivore diet, you start kind of unraveling all this other knowledge and all this hidden information, and it becomes a lot more, it goes a lot deeper than you initially thought.
Yeah, it certainly does.
It's quite shocking after a while when you do your own research and come across your own knowledge. So I mean, is that how you uncovered all this other information? How did you come to know all of this stuff?
Well, 10 years ago, I lost a friend to bowel cancer. And then it sort of woke me up, and I was looking around, and a lot of my friends were sick and dying from, you know, from lifestyle diseases, which their parents would have died from, or their grandparents. And they were actually dying before their parents. And that set me on a journey. I sort of started off with paleo, keto, low carb. And so it's brought me around to now I've created a course before lockdown, a face-to-face course. And each week we'd start with an apéro and a discussion. Then we'd have a demonstration of the topic of the week, such as gluten-free. Then we'd go into a room together and look at the science, because people feel intimidated by the science. Then lockdown, I studied hypnotherapy, and then that was sort of made a loop, you know, they closed the link, because it's a lot of a lot of why we gain or retain weight is actually due to psychological trauma, stress. And so I built a course which online, which incorporates the hypnotherapy as well. And then, you know, as I said, I couldn't understand why my skin still wasn't perfect or like, you know, really improving. And I went on the carnivore challenge, and then I found out about the oxalates. And then, so I've actually rewritten my whole course because it's, you know, the topic just blew my mind. I didn't have to do much, but I had to take a few recipes off my website and recommendations and that sort of thing, and just raise awareness of oxalates.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, because you came up, you obviously constructed the course before you started your carnivore journey. So you just kind of confirmed that, you know, now that you do have more knowledge, you've kind of just rejigged the course a little bit just to adjust a few things after knowing all of this new information.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit more in detail about the course and just a general synopsis of what to expect, or what kind of topics that you go through?
Okay. Well, the course, it's, you know, it's the first lesson is in 3 parts. And the first part of lesson 1 is about the golden fists. It's how we gain or retain weight. So it's F is to eat quality dietary fat, which is essential for absorbing nutrients, but it's just essential for your brain and your body. And then also F for to remove internal visceral fat. So by stopping the stuff that causes it, such as fructose and seed oils, and introducing chemical called butyrate from butter and ghee and resistant starch to reduce it. And then there's I is for insulin control. So this is where the low carb comes in, because we gain weight by spiking our insulin. Because when you spike your insulin, when you spike your glucose, your insulin comes in to take it and stores it as fat. Then you have your stress, which, so it could be physical, emotional, or chemical stress. And so then it's trauma. It could be a small thing or a large thing from your past. Trauma, you could be wanting to be big to protect yourself. You're holding on to this weight for protection. Or you could be small because you want to be invisible. And then
I didn't that from the other perspective. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's S for sleep, but that usually comes back once you sort the other things out. Then the second part is about how our mind works. You know, the 3 most common beliefs, and you know, so that's where I introduced the self-hypnosis meditation. And then the third part is actually the practical steps to introduce a change. So it's about creating a mood board. It's about developing a routine, writing a food mood journal, what you're eating, why you're eating, when, and how it's making you feel. And
so
then
just having a nice visual reminder every day, just to kind of, you know, visually see it every morning, so you have a touch point mentally.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all about setting goals that are not specifically related to weight, because it's not about weight. We're not our weight, our shape, or our size. We're amazing beings, and we need to set goals of health and wellness and happiness, and you know, family goals and exercise goals, and not focus on the weight. And also you need to measure yourself, because sometimes you'll go down in measurements, which I found with the carnivore diet, but you won't necessarily lose weight. And then the second lesson is where I introduce a food guide. So there's a food guide because I take people through a rite of passage to radiant health, and there's 4 stages. So it's R is review, I is implement, T is transition, and E is enjoy. So the the first 1 to 2 weeks, you should not change anything really. You should just be reviewing where you are, what your starting point is, so that you've got a basis to measure from. And then implementation is to start to implement low carb, but in a slow way, because there's you don't want to rush into things, because like for example, the carnivore, I rushed into it and had a bit of constipation and things. And then transition is...
I was quite keen to sort of get stuck into it, and I kind of wiped everything out, you know, overnight, and the symptoms came on really, really strong. So I think, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I'd sort of ease my way into it a little bit more. Definitely.
Yeah, see that's what I think where our courses and our coaching is good, because we've been through it and we know the pitfalls and we know the easy steps to take. So that's where we are coming from. And so the transition is you could take a period of really low carb or a carnivore until your body is rebalanced. And then E is for enjoy eating mindfully in great health the rest of your life. And then after that, I start to cover topics like sugar, and insulin control, then the gut bacteria, you know, everything that you know impacts our body. And then I actually have lessons on chemicals around your home and your beauty products, which are harming us, which you know, they're really hormone disrupting. And if they're hormone disrupting, it's how your body... And I have a lesson on vitamin and mineral powerhouses. So where to find your vitamins and minerals, and you know, the sort of symptoms of what could be happening to you if you're low in these vitamins and minerals. And so for me, it's not about telling people not to do things. It's about telling people, well, this is not good for your body. This is harming your body. So what about this? Here's an alternative. Here, and it's just about guiding them, but just about helping people realize how incredibly powerful we are to heal ourselves.
Fantastic. So, I mean, this course could be for anyone that just wants a little bit more, you know, just to improve their health, whether it's, you know, a little bit or a lot, depending on, you know, what conditions you're currently dealing with. But it's for anyone that's interested in improving their health, pretty much, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's not about, it shouldn't be about weight loss, because you know, not everyone's born to be super skinny, and you know, and it's just about loving yourself and giving the love back by feeding it with you know, we're like supercars, but you know, just give it good oil, quality water, sunshine, nutrients, and you know, we'll have many long glorious years in good health.
And I think that especially with females, we've just so hung up on, you know, the skim milk, using the skim milk in our coffee. You know, carnivore diets, you don't drink coffee, but that's another story. You know, the low fat cheese and the low fat milk and so forth. And I think that I did mention to the naturopath the other day, I don't think you know, a lot of diets these days, and a lot of health professionals as well, you know, I think that women generally need a lot more fat than people think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For me, the menopause symptoms and things, the hormone disruption, they're caused by vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and also by low fat. And also when you get low fat, they put absolute shit chemicals in there. And you know, especially these alternative milks. For me, I still drink coffee. But I put raw butter in it, so you know, it's
coffee, raw butter, and a little bit of milk or cream as well, or just the butter?
I just I was taking it black, but now I actually put a little bit of raw butter or ghee. I make my own ghee, so I'll put
no sweetener whatsoever.
Sorry?
You put a sweetener in it a little bit, or
no? Okay. For me, it's I started taking espresso because it's like life. I loved the smell and I hated the taste. And I was going through a bad time at work. And so I loved the benefits of work, but I didn't like the work. I didn't like the atmosphere in the work. So for me, it was like an espresso. I used to take one espresso per day, just to sort of reinforce it. Wake up and smell the coffee. You like benefit,
it's ingrained in us,
benefits, but and it actually helps you reframe. Helped me reframe. But I don't really take sugar.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many coffee alternatives these days. I've seen recipes where people incorporate like a collagen powder with a raw egg yolk, I believe, and then they kind of froth up the white, and then they sort of make it like a little collagen frappuccino looking thing. So there's all sorts of recipes that you can try if you are hung up on your coffee. But
be careful of collagen supplements. If you're having bone broth, then that's fine, but collagen supplements apparently can actually cause oxalates in your
really
body.
interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, just be careful of any supplements whatsoever. But apparently, collagen supplements can cause oxalates to create in your body.
It's almost like I knew it intuitively, because I bought a one of those little bag collagen powder things, and I was going to start making that sort of substitute coffee, but I haven't. It's been sitting in the cupboard for 2 weeks, and something's telling me not to touch it. So I think I'll just leave it where it is.
Yeah. I mean, I can't recommend this Toxic Superfood book enough, because it honestly blew my mind.
Get it. Yep.
Yeah,
I've read Dr. Is it Philip Avadia? Have you read that one?
No, I'll come across him.
Stay off my operating table. He's a 30-year cardiologist, and he wrote a book about, low carb, high fat diets and what he's experienced being a cardiologist over the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And he's actually becoming an advocate of the carnivore diet. And he's talking about his positive experiences with some of the patients that he's recommended this diet to. And the results are mind blowing. It's just, he's all in with it. Yeah, with a lot of pushback from the medical industry, but his book is amazing if anyone's interested. I might put it in the link in the body of the YouTube body description thing down the bottom.
Yeah, just to let you know, I don't have it's the recording will end in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's okay. So I guess just to roughly go over, my sort of experiences with the carnivore diet. I got quite ill about sort of 12, 13 years ago, and I initially had a Epstein-Barr virus viral infection, and I was diagnosed with having had it about 7 years later. So fast forward to kind of 10 years down the track, I ended up with very extreme post-viral symptoms, chronic pain, headaches, migraines, tinnitus, all over body aches and pains, which was muscle, joint, and nerve pain. Swollen lymph nodes, the whole lot. So I've pretty much tried every single diet there is. And I got to a point where I thought there was no more hope. And I was kind of trying to digest the fact that I may not be able to heal my body back to its former glory before I got sick all those years ago. So the carnivore diet for me was pretty much my last option. And I wasn't really expecting too much out of it. And after I started it, which has now been about 8 or 9 weeks, just over 2 months, my inflammation has gone down by about 50 to 60%. And that's massive for me.
Yeah.
That's massive for me. My headaches and migraines have pretty much almost disappeared. My joint, muscle, and nerve pain has gone down about 40-50%.
Yeah.
And my menstrual cycle is a lot more manageable. I had a lot of pain before that. I've the mood regulation that it has helped me with has been amazing as well.
Yeah.
Especially during that time of the month, I was quite sort of up and down mood wise, and it's regulated all of that. So I can't speak highly enough about the carnivore diet, and but I do agree with you that, you know, after 3 to 6 months, I am planning on, you know, sort of continuing on after 3 months, because I think I've still got a lot of healing to do,
Mm.
and my issues may be a little bit more, a little bit deeper than possibly yours, because I have been sick for quite some time, but I think that eventually I would like to introduce some more, you know, fruits and vegetables, and other, you know, forms of, you know, just adding to my diet so it's not as boring long term, because I was an avid baker, and I
Yeah.
did
Mm.
enjoy my cooking, so I really miss that.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day I can go to maybe more of a keto sort of diet as opposed to strictly carnivore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to, I'll put all, depending on who posts this video, we'll add your links down the bottom, where so people can actually find your course or ask any questions about it. If they have any questions at all, they can just send them through. But did you want to say anything to kind of sign off?
No, I mean, for me, it's life's all about learning, and it's about learning it, not to feed ourselves. It's about learning to feed ourselves with nutrient-rich food, and it's about learning to feed our minds with positive thoughts, and just, you know, have the to be. It's not about living forever, but it's been living as long as you can in good
Quality of
health.
life.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
a quality of life. And, you know, I just want to help. I just want to help people know that it is out there. It is possible to have a good quality of life. You don't have to restrict yourself in terms of the amount of food if it's quality food.
And you know, the weight loss comes, you know, it's not, it shouldn't be your focus, but if your body does want to release the weight, it eventually will.
Yeah.
And you know, when you take the focus off that, you know, so-called priority, then it happens anyway without you even sort of focusing on it. So I just wanted to add that in as well.
Yeah, for me, it's not a diet, it's a permanent change of eating and lifestyle
Right.
habits. It's about waking
Yeah.
up. It's about waking up to to the foods and the lifestyle changes that can just really give you positive, like so much more positivity into your life, your moods, your energy, you know, everything. You know, it's like realizing how incredible we are and powerful.
Yeah, and just getting to an optimal state of health so you can get on with your life and do what you're meant to do. That's the
Yeah,
whole point, is
yeah.
yeah.
But we're all amazing, and we have to realize that.
Yeah, and it's just about, you know, getting to a place where you can be who you are in every moment, and it's not a you know, it's a joyous, every moment is a joyous one, because you know that you're at optimal health,
Yeah,
and that you can do whatever you want
yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's-
Okay, so we might wrap this up for now, but I'm sure we'll talk in the future.
Yeah,
Should we stop recording?
yeah. Okay.